All right, welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. And this morning we got a really special guest with us. I've got Marcia Whittington, nailed it, in from hospice here at Agrace Hospice, just down the street from us. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully you're not too afraid of us at this point. Or,
No,
it's
been good so far.
I'm pretty intimidating. I've been told that,
Yeah.
so.
So let's start off with and tell us a little bit about Agrace and what you guys do for the community and a little bit of history.
Sure, absolutely. Well, everyone in Fitchburg, of course, knows that we have the Don and Marilyn Anderson and Ellen and Peter Johnson centers and residents right here on East Sherrill Parkway. And we have a 50-bed inpatient unit there, which is really impressive, and it serves the local community tremendously. But overall, we serve about 700 patients a day.
Jeez.
So the majority of the patients we serve are actually not in the inpatient unit. They're in their homes, and that's really where, hospice started, is to allow someone to stay at home at the end of life, or whatever they consider home. That could be a nursing home or an assisted living. But when that option may be challenged, whether they may not have a caregiver or their symptoms are too severe to be managed at home, then they can come into the inpatient unit and they can be, treated there. And many times, if we can get the symptoms under control and they're feeling up to going home and they have the proper caregiver at home, they can actually go back home, and many choose to do that too, so that they can, spend their final days in their home, and that's really where they want to be.
I was saying the first time I had seen a presentation outside of here before, and I never really had thought about that part of it. When you're thinking end of life and you think hospice is involved, that, maybe it's coming to the end, but really you guys are there and things may progress on. You may live longer, so I think that's really cool. Let's talk about what's done at the facility here in Fitchburg, what you have to offer there.
Sure. So we have a couple different levels of care in the facility here in Fitchburg. We have a general inpatient unit, which is a hospital-coded unit, and really for people that have more acute needs. As I said, that symptom management, people that are at the very end of life and really do need, pain relief. So we do a lot of work for those people. We also have a residence, and a residence is where someone comes and chooses this is where they are going to live at the end of life. So it becomes their home. It's probably not as extensive of care that's needed because they probably will be with us a few months yet, but at the same time, they are still hospice eligible, which is a prognosis of 6 months or less, and they need a place to live, and so this becomes their residence. One of the things that I think is really interesting about hospice services, and especially Agrace, is the fact that it's not only about the treatment of the patient. And of course, we make sure that the patient's wishes are met and that they're out of pain. But we also do a lot of work with the families. And as you can imagine, for many people, it's the families who haven't accepted what's taking place. So a lot of what we do, whether it's in our inpatient unit here or out in the homes, is really work with the family to accept what's taking place. Make sure they're saying the things that they want to say and having the conversations that they want to have, that they're prepared for what's going to happen, as well as making sure that we offer then grief support for them after they've lost their loved one. So a lot of the space that we have out here in Fitchburg is really built around the families also, space for the families to gather. Many of them move right in with their loved one. This time of year, we have a lot of people celebrating the holidays in our inpatient unit because they want to be there with their loved one. So we have a lot of activity space for them to have their Christmas dinners and things like that. So it's really a center that I feel is meant not only for the patient, but for the patient and the family.
That's awesome. And talk about the foundation and what their role is as part of it.
Sure. So our foundation, the main purpose of the foundation is to raise funds to support the operations and the services that Agrace provides. On a regular basis, we probably bring in anywhere between $2 and $3 million a year to support and offset, expenses. Many of those are because we do have patients living in our community that cannot afford or have no resources to pay for the services of Agrace. They may not be eligible for Medicare, Medicaid. We're seeing people, as I said, who are in their homes and do not have an appropriate caregiver. We see people in their homes whose caregivers are neglecting them. We actually have seen situations where the caregivers are stealing the drugs that should be administered to the patients. So when we see situations like this, we need to get them out of a situation like that and bring them into our residence, so that's where they can be safe. And of course, there's a cost to that. And so community donations really, really support efforts like that, as well as all of our grief and bereavement programs, our residential and respite programs. So our foundation really focuses on, community support that helps the people we're serving.
And there's an increased need from what I'm reading here, that there's an increased need for Grace Charity Care as
Right,
well. If you
right.
could talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So we've started a program. It's called Care for All, but that's exactly what it is. It's charity care. So for those people who have no other resources to pay for the services of a Grace, we have never turned anyone away in our 37 years of being in this community, and we never will. And so what we need to do, though, is know we have a sustainable funding source for those people, and we're seeing a tremendous growth, not only as our patient census grows, which of course it will continue as the baby boomers age, but also with the understanding that more and more people are struggling out there with the economic issues that are going on. So we want to make sure that there's always an opportunity to pay for those services. In about the past 5 years, we've seen a growth of about a $50,000 need for that type of support to, in 2014, we had a need of $450,000. So we know that need is there, and we know it will continue to grow. So what we are looking at doing as an organization is, instead of trying to keep up with that need every year, we're building an endowment. And basically, many of you know what an endowment is, but what an endowment really does is it takes the gifts that come in and it places them in a fund or in an investment fund that we will not touch the principal of that. All we will touch then is the interest that it earns. So in order to do that and meet the growing need, we need to raise about $15 million, which will generate about a 5% return, which will be about $750,000 a year. And we started this effort to raise the $15 million in February, March timeframe, and we are already at $3.3 million.
Wow.
So it really shows how this community, once again, because the community built our wonderful facilities here in the Fitchburg area, but it's showing how this community is stepping up and recognizing that some of our most vulnerable people, some of our most vulnerable neighbors are in need, and they want to help. So it's really impressive.
That's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. All right. Well, if anybody wants to get involved with the Grace, real quick, how can they get involved? And
Absolutely.
I know that's a short. There's a lot of ways to get involved there.
And probably the best way to learn about all the ways to get involved is to go on our website, which is agrace.org. And there are opportunities about how to volunteer for Grace. We have over 1,000 active volunteers that help us do the services that we do. If you're interested in donating, especially this time of year, a lot of people are trying to make year-end gifts, and this would be something they may consider, or just learning about how to access our services. Not only do we provide hospice services, but we also provide palliative care services, which is if you're still seeking some type of curative care, maybe you're receiving chemo or radiation, but you have a serious illness, you can still receive palliative care from us, which is really care that helps you move through that transition.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning, and we're going to have you guys come back each month with new topics and stuff, so we're looking forward to that. So thank you, and good luck on the fundraising, and looking forward to working with you guys here in the future.
Thank you, too. Happy holidays to both of you.
You too.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.